lecture series on metaphysics, the key to opening our mind, introduction to metaphysics. And of course, I emphasize it's only an introduction, it's not metaphysics curriculum itself. Okay. Today's lecture is spirituality, is God and ghost real? Should be a very interesting topic, something that's to the heart of a lot of human beings on this planet Earth. Now, today's lecture is advance this thing. Sorry. It worked last time. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's lecture, which is the third lecture on this series of introduction to metaphysics, key to opening our minds. Today's topic is spirituality, is God and ghosts real? And today's lecture is dedicated to the Venerable Xiao Tuan, who is, of course, a spiritual person. My good friend, my teacher, and a very dedicated spiritual searcher who has done a lot in building orphanage and also promoting spirituality. So, metaphysics is a branch of philosophy concerned with the study of nature of beings, existence, time and space, and causality. So these are really big questions, and to attack big questions we need the appropriate prerequisites, and that's what the first two lectures are meant to do. And in today's lecture we will be reviewing how we apply what we have learned from the first two lectures in order to attack these big questions. Okay? So, in the first segment of our talk, we will look at the disbeliever's view. Why do people disbelieve in ghosts and God? Well, because there's a limitation in the perception of reality. And this is what we've gone through this in great depth in the second lecture. And so, at the end of that, all they see is part and partial of the reality. All they can see is evolution, which is true, but it's only part of the reality. Okay? As the example of the blind man feeling the elephant. Then segment 2, we look at the believer's view. Okay? Now, why do they believe like that? Are they superstitious? Are they, just too much imagination and so on? So we will explore that view as well. And in lecture 1, remember how we take two different concepts, finite versus infinite? These two opposing, by definition, completely mutually exclusive terms. How by opening our mind we're able to accommodate both viewpoints, that not only they are no longer opposite, but we're comfortable assimilating both terms together. And not only that, we are able to measure the infinite using finite numbers and vice versa. Okay? We can approach infinity using finite measurements of units of measurement. And we can take infinity and make it finite. And yet, the two, we can do all that, and yet we can still be comfortable communicating with people, understanding what they mean when they say something is finite versus something is infinite. Okay? So that's what lecture 1 is all about. So without those prerequisites, it's very difficult to tackle today's lecture. Okay? We must have an open mind that we can take two opposite views, see that it is simply a matter of how wide our mind is open, they are opposite, only because of the in-the-box thinking. Once we dissolve the box, and once we apply critical thinking and logic to it, we see that apparently mutually exclusive concepts can very nicely accommodate together. And that is how we use that thinking mode to attack big questions like this. We will take the non-disbeliever and the believer, and together we will assimilate and accommodate their view together, be comfortable with it, see the merits of both sides, okay? See what the blind man says about describe the elephant trunk versus the elephant ear versus the elephant body, and therefore we get a much more complete perception of a reality. Okay? So that's what lecture 1 was all about. And we understand why they think like this through lecture 2, the mode of perceptions, okay? How we perceive things. We're going to go review a little bit into that and delve with the detail why we can go wrong. Okay? Why are we so limited in perceiving the full range of reality? Only very briefly we'll review it so I invite you to go back to my second lecture for the full treatise on that. In segment 3 of today's talk, we're going to talk a little bit about New Age spiritualism. By New Age I mean 2010 and today and onwards. Okay? We'll look at the relevance or modernization of theism, which is the belief in God. And then I will try to focus on what is the single most critical question when we approach this topic of God and ghost. Okay? Because there's too many questions. We tend to get lost in the forest. Okay? So we'll focus on, so what is the single most question, the most fundamental one? If we can find the answer to that, we'll find the answer to appreciate this whole totality of reality. And maybe I talk a little bit about the argument on rebirth, or referred to as reincarnation, and we will look at all this from the energy level point of view, take a little scientific model and see how that can be applied spiritually. And finally, in segment 4, we'll talk about what all this New Age spirituality is all about. We'll review a little bit about the world religions, and we'll try to define God in the end. So hopefully you'll stay to the end. All right. So as you can see, we're packed full of interesting agenda today. So I'll be speaking a much faster paced, assuming you already mastered all the skills in the first 2 lectures to assimilate the topic. So segment 1, is God and ghost real? Well, some of us believe, we say yes, God and ghosts are real. So yes, we call that theism. Okay, the belief in God, the term, we have to learn this term, is called theism, Theism. So those people who believe are theists. Those who say, no, I don't believe in God and ghosts, they are referred to as atheist. A is like, in ancient Indian language as well. Sanskrit, this means no. Okay, so atheist means no God. Theist means yes, belief. Atheist is disbelief. And then we have a group that says don't know. Okay, so those are called the agnostic. Okay, agnostic, as opposed to another group called Gnostic, that means we know it all. Okay, so this is interesting, and we will come to that in a moment. Okay, so these are important terms we need to learn: the theism, the theist, the atheist, and the agnostics. So first, let's look at the non-believers. How do they come to disbelief? Okay. I should say it's not my intention or job to try to convince you one way or the other whether